Hello everyone, Prosperity here. With Legion fast approaching, I thought it would be a great idea to make a few guides to help you sort through the changes that have been made to the classes and specializations. In this series, we're going to take a look at those changes and pick them apart to help you better understand what's going on. Welcome to the intermediate guide to the Frost Death Knight in Legion. This is the second video in the series, and if you haven't watched the beginner guide to Frost, take a moment to pause this video and go watch it, as it lays the groundwork for the series. I'll put a link on screen and in the description for you. Today, we're going to break down the passive abilities and cooldowns for Frost. Your passive abilities are Dark Sucker, Killing Machine, your Mastery, Frozen Heart, Rhyme, and Runic Empowerment. Your cooldowns are Anti-Magic Shell, Empower Rune Weapon, Icebound Fortitude, and Pillar of Frost. This is a lot to get through, so let's get started with your passives. The passive abilities, shown on screen here, shape a lot of the interactions between some of your active abilities, and can potentially give you an extra edge in combat if utilized properly. Dark Sucker makes your next Death Strike free and increases its healing done by 100% if used within 20 seconds of killing an enemy that yields experience or honor. This passive incentivizes killing the lowest health enemy around you first in order to get the most out of your Death Strikes. Killing Machine gives your auto-attack critical strikes a chance to make your next Obliterate critically strike. The buff granted from this passive lasts for 10 seconds and should be used as soon as possible. Naturally, this passive makes getting crit on your gear a decent prospect. Your Mastery, Frozen Heart, increases all frost damage you deal by a baseline 12%, increasing with Mastery on your gear, of course. It doesn't change your gameplay in a distinct way, but it does help for certain builds that rely on frost damage more than physical. Rhyme gives your Obliterate a 45% chance to make your next Howling Blast deal 300% additional damage and cost no runes. This passive gives you a 15-second window to use your next Howling Blast with the bonus effect. The Rhyme buff does not increase the damage of Frost Fever, so timing your Howling Blast to make sure you don't waste any Frost Fever is important. Runic Empowerment gives you a 1% chance to gain a rune whenever you spend Runic Power. This is the main reason why you should favor Frost Strike over all other Runic Power spenders, as it is the most efficient spender in your toolkit. Let's move on to your cooldowns, shown on screen for you here. These abilities take a long time to become available after they're used, so making sure you know when to use them will help you to master the Frost spec even further. Anti-Magic Shell is on a 1-minute cooldown. When used, it creates a barrier around you for 5 seconds, absorbing a truckload of magic damage and preventing harmful magical effects from being cast on you for the duration. AMS also generates runic power when it absorbs damage, making this a formidable defensive cooldown. You should try to use this as much as possible in encounters with high magical damage. Empower Rune Weapon is on a 3-minute cooldown. Using this ability will immediately activate all your runes and generate 25 runic power. This cooldown should be used as much as possible. The best practice is to use your runes as quickly as possible with Obliterate, then use your cooldown to replenish your runes and alternate between Frost Strike and Obliterate from there. Icebound Fortitude is also on a 3-minute cooldown. Using this ability decreases all damage you take by 20% and makes you immune to stun effects for 8 seconds. As this ability is on such a long cooldown, this should be used during times of heavy raid-wide damage to assist your healers in keeping you alive. Pillar of Frost is on a 1-minute cooldown. When used, your strength will be increased by 20% and you'll gain immunity to knockbacks for 20 seconds. Every encounter should be started with this buff going, and you should try to keep it on cooldown as much as possible, unless you know you're not going to be able to smash things with your weapons for the full duration. Let's recap. Your passives give you a lot of interactions between Obliterate and Howling Blast, with Obliterate getting buffed from auto-attack critical strikes and Howling Blast being buffed by your Obliterate. There is one exception to the Rhyme passive. You should use as many buffed Howling Blasts as possible, if they will hit 4 or more enemies. Use your offensive cooldowns as much as possible, and be smart about when to use your defensive ones. Follow these rules and your ability to dominate any encounter will increase tenfold. That's all that I have for the intermediate guide for Frost. Hopefully, what we've gone over here today has helped you to get a better understanding of the inner workings of the spec. If you have any questions about Frost or want to suggest a class to be covered next in the series, leave a comment below or reach me on Twitter at @TheLoranzas. Subscribe for more Legion class guides and other World of Warcraft goodness. Thanks for watching, and as always, have fun.